So England start their Euros campaign with their win against Serbia yesterday, and well, I was sat in the pub watching the game, and I really enjoyed the first 25 to 30 minutes. It was a really enjoyable performance from England. I thought, to begin with, the link up between Foden, Bellingham, and Saka was great. I thought Bellingham, Saka and Foden getting on the ball and trying to drive forward was exceptional. I thought it looked very positive. It looked very good. And the goal comes, some of it kind of like dwindles away. But as the second half started and the second half went on, I thought the performance got embarrassing at times, where we were just inviting too much pressure on us, and we were parking the bus. We were inviting pressure onto us, putting in last ditch blocks, and then pumping the ball to their up the field to their centre backs for them to restart an attack. And it was embarrassing. And there are a few things I want to pick from the game before I get into the main topic of the video. But before I get into any of that, like the video if you enjoyed. Comment down below who you think is going to win the Euros. Comment down below what you thought of England's performance and what you thought of Southgate's first starting 11 of the Euros. Obviously, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're very close to 400 subscribers. It would be nice to hit that goal before the Euros ends. And yeah, check out the rest of the videos on the channel if this is the first video of mine you're watching. But yeah, the England game. So first few things I want to point out was I thought Saka was decent. I thought Saka was good in the first half. I thought maybe potentially he had a very quiet second half before he was subbed off. Can I really blame him for that second half? No, not really. No one else was really making things happen in that second half, and it was an embarrassing display, I'd say, all round. I think it was good that he got subbed off. He definitely should not be playing 90 minutes in the group stage, especially considering how much football he's played over the last few years. I think it was good to give him a rest, and I thought the sub to bring him off for Bone was a perfect substitution. I thought Foden again was a bit more quiet than Saka in the first half. And then also the same applies for him in the second half. Wasn't really making anything happen. I want to see better from him in the following games, but I don't think he was the worst player on the pitch. Then we get to our captain, Harry Kane, who actually did nothing. Like, if I'm going to look at this from an unbiased point of view, he did nothing. Bellingham's goal. Let's look at Bellingham's goal. He doesn't attack the ball. He doesn't even make an attempt to go for the ball. Luckily, he's got Bellingham following him behind him. Many of crosses where the ball's been whipped in and it's Foden in the middle of the box. It's Saka in the middle of the box, not Kane, not the person that's meant to be there. His pressing was embarrassing. He pressed with no integrity. He's so slow to do everything. Even when he was dropping deep, he wasn't really getting involved in the play. Like, it was, I don't think I watched him do anything of any note in that 90 minutes, 94 minutes. Like, what did he do? And the fact that he doesn't get subbed off while dropping a performance like that, when we've got Watkins, who I think would complement that front four of Saka, Foden, Bellingham so much better than Kane. And he just has to sit on the bench and watch Kane do what he did. Embarrassing from Kane, embarrassing from the captain. And it's the same story with Kane ever since the 2018 World Cup. He cashed in on that golden boot and wants to just put in embarrassing performance after embarrassing performance for England after that. And you know what? Fair enough to the man, because he's never going to get dropped. He knows that, so he can just do as he pleases. But yeah, and before we get on to the main topic, one last player, Bellingham. I think, you know, I called him overrated the other day. I still believe that is the case. I still think people think he's better than he is, but I thought he was England's best player yesterday. He was making things happen. I think potentially he wanted to be on the ball a little too much and maybe should have not been always so eager to get on the ball and let other people like Foden and Saka get on the ball, because there were periods of time in the game where he would pick up the ball and he would just instantly be closed down by three players whilst Foden, Rice, Saka are in space. You know, but what can you do? Like, it's not really like a big criticism of him. I think he was still England's best player, and It's just a bit nitpicky, but it's just something I wanted to put out there because it could potentially become an issue later in the tournament. Might not, but it could potentially. So it's something to keep an eye on. But the main topic of today's video, still be 5 minutes to get to it, but the main topic of today's video is Trent Alexander-Arnold, because I have been told over the years that you know, obviously we all say that Trent can't defend because he's not the best defensive right back you'll ever see. He is probably a bit lazy, a bit complacent in when it comes to running back. He's, you know, not always concentrating on the defensive side of his game, but he is world class at going forward and at playing balls, you know, set pieces, everything, right? So everyone says that he should play in midfield, right? And I've never believed that hype. I just don't think he's got the facilities to play as a midfielder. I don't think he's got the awareness of the game and all of that stuff, right? I just don't think he was ever destined to be a midfielder. But everyone's telling me he should play midfield, right? And then you see all the pre-match build-up of this game, and everyone like, oh, Trent's going to start in midfield, right? And everyone's saying that it's probably going to be a good thing, and it's a good thing that Southgate's done it. And then I watch him play in midfield, and it was terrible. And it's exactly what I expected. Yes, when he picks up the ball, he can ping a beautiful pass. He can shoot from distance. Like, he can do all of these things, but he doesn't check his mirrors. There was a period of time where he didn't have as much time on the ball as he thought he would in our half. Takes a heavy touch, and I think he plays the ball into either Mitrovic or Vlahovic. I can't remember which one, but it was one of their attackers. And it's because he doesn't check his mirrors, because he's so used to having a lot more time and space out on the right flank, whereas now he's in the middle of the park where, you know, you're getting pressed from left, right and centre. Like, you're getting pressed from every direction. You're not going to get time on the ball in the middle of the park. You know, that's just one example of it. That's the main example of him getting caught in possession, because he just expects to have a lot more time on the ball than he does. And he's just not aggressive enough. There were many of times where he could have went up for a header with one of the Serbian midfielders, but he just didn't. He just let them win the ball. There were periods of time where he could put in a tackle and get aggressive and get stuck in, and he just wasn't. He was playing like a passenger in that midfield. Bellingham was getting stuck in. Saka got stuck in. Bowen, when he came on, got stuck in. Bowen put in an absolute shift when he got subbed on. I thought he was very good when he came on, going forward and coming back. You know, Rice was getting stuck in. Gurhey was getting stuck in. Stones, you know, all getting stuck in. Even Trippier was getting stuck in, and he's terrible. But Trent wasn't, right? He wasn't getting stuck in. He looked very, very scared, very anxious, very nervous playing in the midfield. It's almost like he didn't know what to do. He looked lost playing as a midfielder, and I just don't think we can keep playing him in midfield in a major tournament and expect to win. That's exactly why I don't think that Kobbie Mainoo and Cole Palmer should be starting for England, because this is their first major tournament. They shouldn't be starting for England when they're not used to performing on this level of a stage. Because you look at Bellingham's first Euros, right? He didn't play every game. He barely played, but he got the experience of being at the Euros. Saka didn't play that many minutes. Obviously, he had the most defining moment of the tournament in a negative way, but he didn't play that many minutes. You know, you look at all these young players, but now they're like, they've all won something. They've been to multiple major tournaments now with England. Like, it's their time to play. It's not Foden. It's not Palmer or Mainoo's time to play. Time to start. It's, you know, that's probably the World Cup coming up. That will be their time to start. This is just them to learn the ropes, learn what it's like to go away to a major tournament, and see what international football is really like, right? So the youngsters shouldn't be starting anyway, and Trent should not be starting in midfield, because it just wasn't a good performance. And no one can like gaslight me into thinking that was a good performance and Trent should be playing in midfield, because it just wasn't. Just wasn't it, was it? Like, he didn't do anything of note, and he just looked scared for the whole time he was on the pitch. And I thought bringing on Gallagher, someone that's not scared to get his hands dirty when we're trying to defend the lead and things are getting a bit ropey, it's a good sub. I think the Saka and Bowen sub was a good sub. I think the Gallagher Trent sub was a good sub, but I think maybe the Kobbie Mainoo Jude sub may have been not the right player to bring off. I think maybe bring off Rice or bring off Foden. You don't bring off Jude, the only player that... Because the thing is, like, if you brought off Jude in that position instead of Foden or instead of Rice, right? Your two holding midfielders who at that time would have been... Well, it would have been three holding midfielders because he brought off Bellingham and kept Rice on, right? So you've got Rice, Gallagher and Mainu, right? They win the ball back. Who are they playing the ball to? They'd have to pump it out wide. There's no one... There's not the Bellingham figure in the middle to play that ball to. And you're not playing the ball to Kane because he's not doing anything with the ball. So, you know, it wasn't the best first game of a tournament, but you can't complain with 3 points. And obviously the Denmark game coming up, that will be the hardest game in the group. And if you win that, obviously, you go through group winners, hopefully, and, you know, into the knockout rounds. But I do think Foden needs to play a bit better in the next few games, in the coming games. Kane needs to have a whole rethink of his performance and how he wants to play, because he played like a statue yesterday and it was embarrassing. And Trent can't play in midfield. I wouldn't even be opposed to him playing right back, because we know how I feel about the gentleman that played right back yesterday, and I also don't think he played very well yesterday. But I'm not even going to comment on his performance, because international football is meant to be my breakaway from club football, so I'm not going to sit here and talk about Carl Walker over and over again, because I do that enough in the normal season. But I will say that his comments about Grealish were embarrassing, especially from the club captain, and from a player that, if it's based on merit, he shouldn't have been there because he didn't put in good performances. But hey ho. Again, if you enjoyed the video, like the video, comment down below what you thought of Trent's midfield performance and whether you think he should be playing in midfield. Also, what you thought of Walker's comments about Jack Grealish in the lead up to England's first game. And just your thoughts on the game as a whole. Again, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if it's the first video of your mine you're watching, go back and check out the rest of the videos on the channel. That might even persuade you to subscribe. Who knows? But yeah, I've been Nathan. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
Shut down cases, they belly dots to the can't see faces, chasing the bad guy chase it. You don't wanna be the one like Ace and like G-Take trying to turn them out wasted. Aye, tell a bad bitch come break it, body come mad, come shake it, then get back to the basics, bro, done shut down cases, they belly dots to the